tried flashing your headlights at the driver, however he kept going, right?
Yes.
And that you then pulled up next to the driver on his right side, right? And it says he was in the middle lane at that time.
I remember that I was almost 2 lanes over when I pulled up next to him.
I know, but what I'm trying to say is, I'm asking, I know that's what you remember, I'm asking if, when you talked to Trooper MacArthur, didn't you say to Trooper MacArthur that when you pulled up next to him and were looking inside his vehicle to see what he was doing, that he was in the middle lane at that time? Not that you had moved forward?
Not that I recall.
Okay. When you talked to Trooper MacArthur, you said that you saw sparks, right?
Yes.
Later in your email, what you did write, you said you described them as a large amount of sparks, right?
Initially, yes.
8 days later, you were interviewed by Detective Sergeant Powell, right?
Right.
And at that point, that's when you say that the sparks, you said, were up to 3 feet high. See the progression? Sparks, large amount, and all of a sudden you have them up to 3 feet high when you're talking to Trooper Powell, right?
They were 3 to 4 feet high when I talked to everybody.
Okay, so you put that in your email as well?
Yes.
And you even said today, I mean, I'm asking you, you told Trooper Powell on September 5th, you said they were up to 3 feet high, and today you're saying 3 to 4 feet. Is that true?
Around there.
Okay. And I guess what I'm saying is you weren't measuring the height of the
No, I
sparks.
wasn't measuring the height of the sparks.
You don't know if it was 2 feet, or if it was 3 feet, if it was 2.5 feet. You're just
Guessing. Estimation.
I understand. And you're estimating, and the only time that the sparks were that high was when Mr. Warren was entering onto I-75, according to what you told Trooper Powell.
That's correct. And as his speed increased, the sparks went flatter.
Okay. And that is what I wanted to talk about. So your vantage point as to the relative height of the sparks, your ability to estimate, would have been your position in the right lane, right?
Yes.
Watching this vehicle from a distance enter onto the highway, right?
That's correct.
And then enter into the left lane of the highway, correct?
That's correct.
It's not the exact, would you agree, that's not the best circumstance in which to come up with an estimate as to how high sparks were. Fair to say?
I'm next to him. I could see very well.
Okay. You next to him. Okay. The last... Did you, when you observed, do you know the area that separates, and when you're getting onto I-75 or onto a road, and there's the area where there's the kind of V, that one direction is the entrance onto the highway and the other is the road you continue on? You've driven past those before, have you not?
Yes.
I assume. Have you ever turned onto a highway through those white lines? Supposed to made the turn onto a highway too late, or a little bit late, or somewhat late.
No, I would keep going straight.
You've never done that, not one time in all of your years of driving?
Maybe, I don't recall.
It would seem probably something that would be fairly common, wouldn't it?
Yes, sure.
Okay. And do you share the general assessment about Michigan's roads, that there are many potholes and things in the roads?
Yes, Michigan roads have potholes.
And have you ever had any experiences with those potholes?
Yes.
Have you had a flat tire or a damaged rim?
Damaged rim.
You know anybody who's felt that large thud or that thump when you go through a big pothole?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that when it's dark outside, it's even harder to see some of those potholes?
That's correct.
I have nothing else. Thank you.
All right, thank you. redirect?
I do, Your Honor. Ms. O'Shea, counsel asked you briefly about...
This is O'Shea, you're almost done.
Okay.
She's been on the stand for a long time.
Yes, he asked you briefly about where the defendant's hands were on the wheel, and he's, where you said up here at 10 and 2, correct?
Correct.
And he indicated, at least according to teachings, and your answer was that that's the safest place for the hands to be, correct? And that's what you're taught, right?
That's what you're taught, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
What else are you taught to do as you're driving with your hands at 10 and 2? Are you supposed to be checking anything?
Your mirrors,
Your-
side by side, mirrors, your rear view mirror.
Okay, you're supposed to look into your mirrors and look behind you, is that?
Right.
And the entrance onto I-75 from Dixie Highway, you familiar with that entrance?
Very.
Have you ever taken it?
I don't think so.
Okay. But you've seen it
But
as
I've
you
seen
drove
it a million
down?
times.
Right. And it comes from the left, correct?
Comes from the left.
It sort of curves
Yes,
from the left and onto the freeway?
yes.
Okay, and if you're pulling something behind you, that item behind you sort of curve with you when if you're pulling a trailer?
Yes.
So you'd be able to see your trailer behind you as you curve to the left, correct?
He's talking about her experience? Or
Her
of
experience.
people- well, it's
Her experience.
It's fine, if that's her experience.
I would just caution the question.
Oh, absolutely,
from
I
your own
understand.
From your own personal knowledge.
If you're turning left, looking behind you, you'd be able to see it better as you're turning to the left, correct?
That's correct.
It would be in your side view mirror, your personal experience?
My experience, that's correct.
Okay. Now this bright light of sparks, it was bright enough for you to see from where you were, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, it was pitch black everywhere else.
Pitch black, except for the BP gas station and Jesus.
All right. Now, when you pulled up, you had indicated, you said, why is he not pulling over, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And in your email, you indicated, I was
I
so...
object, her testimony was, why is he not seeing this, was what she said when she saw it for the first time. That was what she testified to. Why is he not seeing this?
So what,
Why don't you clarify your question?
certainly. What did you say to yourself, and did you say it out loud?
I said a lot of stuff out loud.
What did you say out loud? Specifically from what you recall.
From the minute I saw him, I said, "Oh my God, what is he dragging?" And then as I drove forward, I said, "My God, why is he not pulling over?" And my assumption initially was, why isn't he pulling over on the left? But then the more I thought about it, he was better off to pull over on the right.
Okay.
But
But what were you saying to yourself, or what were you saying at that point? You said, why isn't he pulling over,
I said,
correct?
"My God, you moron, why aren't you pulling over?" is exactly what I said. Because I wanted him off the highway. Something was going to happen.
Okay. And Mr. Rockland asked you several questions about pulling over to the side, and sometimes it could be dangerous, correct? If you got out of your car, correct?
Very dangerous.
Okay. If you get out of your car, correct? Standing on the side of the road would be very dangerous?
Very dangerous.
Right. Do you have a cell phone?
I do.
And if, would you be able to call for help or to call for assistance?
Yes, I would.
Okay. You'd feel safe pulling over and calling for assistance? Safer?
Safer knowing I had a phone.
Now you pulled, you said to the side of him, correct?
Yes, but he was 2 lanes over.
All right. But then you pulled ahead, yes?
Yeah, I did,
You got in
yes.
front of him.
I got in front of him.
Okay. You didn't stay behind him.
No, I did not. I didn't want whatever was dragging to dislodge and me run over it. So I went ahead of him and watched him.
Right. So there was a concern on your part at that point?
Major concern.
Thank you. Now, one other thing Mr. Rock had asked you, I promise this will probably be the last question. He put it to you about sometimes you have a near miss of an accident, correct?
That's correct.
And at the time, you don't feel it's dangerous, but later you look on and it's dangerous, correct?
Right.
That was his question to you?
That's correct.
Okay. Does that make that incident any less dangerous further on, when you look at it further down the road? You might not have thought it was dangerous at the time, but further down you did?
It doesn't make it any less dangerous.
Okay. But in fact, at this point, or in this incident, you in fact pulled ahead of that car because you did feel there was a danger, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, just one moment.
Can I be cross on that? I only have a few questions I'd like to.
Nothing further, Your Honor. You can go.
I'll, 2 questions, not the importance of it.
Okay. Mrs. O'Shea, until just now, you never said to any of the troopers or in your email that the reason why you pulled ahead was because of a fear on your part. Isn't that true?
It's true that I didn't want whatever was
Is-
dislodging, so yes, I had a fear that...
You never told that to anybody until just now. After hearing my cross-examination questions and in response to the prosecutor's questions, you've never said that until just now.
Did you ask me if I was very fearful that something might
I asked if he was a danger to you, if you felt he was a danger, and you said no.
If I had let him move in front of me and whatever would dislodge, then yes, there was a danger.
Okay.
So that's why I moved ahead, so that I wasn't fearful of him hurting me, because I moved ahead.
And
But I
that's what
was
you told
fearful
the...
of him.
I don't want to argue.
being hurt.
You're saying that's what you told Trooper MacArthur that's the reason why you moved ahead, and you told Detective Sergeant Powell that's why you moved ahead. Is that right?
Because
Is that what you said? Did you tell the
Sorry,
troopers?
You're confusing me.
I know, I think you say you're not being argumentative, but I think you are, because
Okay.
I don't understand.
Well, I'm trying to hustle because you told me my 2 questions. So here,
I can
I'll be
take
more.
more.
I'll be more specific. You have up until just now, you have maintained that the reason why you moved ahead in the right lane was so that you could make room for Mr. Warren to get over to the right.
And that's true.
Okay. Until just now, you have never said that you had in your mind a fear that an object would become dislodged, and that is a reason why you moved ahead. Am I correct?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
the reason I moved ahead.
Now, hear my question. You've never told that to anybody before today.
Was I asked that ever?
You talked. I wasn't there for the interview with Trooper MacArthur.
I mean, just,
Okay.
he's asking you a question, so if you would just answer the question. If there's an explanation, then it can be followed up at that point in time.
Okay.
I think he's just trying to get you to answer his question.
Okay, the
I'm
question...
trying to. One of the questions I asked
never
you
said
earlier.
that.
Right. Remember how I asked you?
All right,
It was
next
that simple.
question. She said she never
Okay.
said it.
Last, by the time that Mr. Warren got off at the rest area, you did not see any sparks coming from the trailer at that time. Isn't that true?
I was in front of him, so
Right.
I did not see sparks coming from behind him.
Right. So, and that's, once you were in front of him, you couldn't see the sparks.
That's true.
Okay, nothing else. Thank you.
I will allow follow-up questions.
No, Your Honor, I think.
None? Okay, very good. Mrs. O'Shea, thank you for your testimony. You may step down. You just finished the front gate. May Mrs. O'Shea be excused?
Yes, Your
Yes.
Honor.
All right, thank you for your testimony. You may be excused. And I'm noting that it's 12 o'clock. Can I have counsel approach?